There's never a safe time to quit fighting the fight against sin. Noah gets off of the boat and he thinks it's time to just eat, drink, and be merry, for him to rise up and play. But what happens when he lets his guard down? He lets his guard down, he gets consumed. You can say it this way. You let your guard down with sin, sin's going to catch you off guard. It doesn't matter how experienced you are. It doesn't matter how righteous you are. It doesn't matter how many holy experiences you have. It doesn't matter how old a person is. If you quit fighting the fight against sin, you will find yourself failing in shame. That's the truth of this passage. What did God already say? What did God already say to Cain? After Cain had given a bad offering to the Lord, before Cain ever killed his brother, when the Lord came to Cain, what did he say in Genesis 4:7? He said, if you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you. You must rule over it. You know one thing sin doesn't do? Sin never sleeps. Temptation never quits. You can't let your guard down for one single moment or you will be consumed. Look at what Peter says, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 through 9. He says, be sober-minded. Be sober-minded. Be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. In the book of Job, chapter 1, you read it there in verse 7. Verse 6, the Lord has Satan and he comes before him and he says, Satan, where have you been and what have you been doing? And Satan tells him there in chapter 1, verse 7 of Job, he says, I have been going up and down, to and fro across the whole earth. Well, what has Satan been doing? Seeking someone to devour. And you know a notch on his belt at the point that he said that to the Lord, recorded in the first chapter of Job? One notch on his belt was Noah. Another notch on his belt was Adam. You can just keep checking them off, one by one. Let their guard down. Eve, she let him talk to her there in the garden, so easily deceived her. A roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. I would hope that at the end of my life, at the end of your life, that we could say it truly the way the Apostle Paul did. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7 through 8. Let's start in verse 6. He says, for I am already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure has come. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have loved his appearing. How did the Apostle Paul view his life? He viewed his life not as a time to eat, drink, and be merry, not as a time for leisure. He viewed his life as a race. Oh boy, what a sad tale for any athlete who they train for a race, they train and train and train, and then they get there and they run and they come up limp before they can ever cross the finish line. What a sad picture when you can't finish. What a sad picture to step outside the bounds and the referee say, disqualified. Paul says, I don't run like that. I run the race so that I can finish it. Elsewhere he says, I run so that I might not be disqualified. And here's Noah, who has lived 600 years of righteous life. And in a moment where he lets his guard down, he's humiliated. And that's the last word you hear recorded of him.